What's your worst first date experience? My worst first date was also my first date ever. I was about 14 or 15. The girl I liked asked me if I wanted to go on a date. I was over the moon. She told me to meet her at the park. When I got there, she was there with her friends and they all laughed at me for thinking she would ever want to date a loser like me. I was making out with a girl on a cold evening on her unlit front porch. I just thought my runny nose was from the cold. But when we turned on the lights, I realized I had a bloody nose. Her face was covered in blood. There was no second date. Went on a date with a girl I met on an online dating website. All she kept talking about was whether I thought anyone could tell we were on a date. She even made weird comments to the staff about us being on a girls' night out. As we were walking from the restaurant to a bar, I touched her arm lightly, and she jumped away from me as if she'd been electrocuted. In high school, I went on a date with this girl who went to a different school. I met her a couple times before. Anyways, I go to pick her up, and the whole time on the date she is talking in this thick Texas accent. Now mind you, we live in the Northeast and I know for a fact she has never grown up in Texas. What made it worse is she's talking in this accent and talking about how my parents will love her, how we'll go to the same college together, etc. I finally said screw this, dropped her off and blocked her on everything. The last I heard, she's a stripper who does witchcraft in her spare time. This wasn't a date but me asking for a date. My freshman year of high school, I asked this girl out after a football game. It would have been no problem except I was fully erect thanks to my raging hormones. I don't know if she or anyone else noticed, but I was wearing loose shorts, so I doubt they didn't. First date nearly a year after my first serious girlfriend. I was maybe 19 at the time and we went to the outdoor movies. Went for a walk afterwards, chatting, holding hands. It was nice. Built up the courage to kiss her. In the 2 seconds from doing it to reaching her face, I develop a raging boner that I know she has to feel. We walk back to my car, I drop her off, and the next morning she messages me saying she wasn't over her ex.
I've had a lot of terrible dates, including someone picking me up with their mother and having her attend the date, but the worst by far was when I was 19. I went to this guy's house who had alluded that he lived alone. We were gonna go swimming, then go out for lunch. I show up and it becomes apparent it's his parents' house and they were currently not home. Okay, kinda weird, but no big deal. We're having a beer, getting to know one another, when out of the blue he insists that he show me something in his room. I say something along the lines of nice try, but I'm not gonna go into your room so you can try to put the moves on me. He continues to insist that it's actually really cool and I have to see it. I'm visibly annoyed but follow him anyway. We get in there and within 3 seconds flat this guy gets completely naked while I'm just standing there dumbfounded. To this day I have never seen someone undress so quickly. He's standing there like this is his grand reveal, expecting me to just throw myself on him or something. I tell him I remembered I forgot to do something and need to go home, and basically run back down the stairs while he's chasing me trying to get dressed and follow me outside. I book it to my car and leave hella fast. Dude then proceeds to call me every few weeks for 1.5 years, leaving me creepy voicemails how he hopes I'm not hanging out with other guys and how he misses me. Worst date ever TLDR. Guy invites me to his parents' house for first date and ends up undressing himself in 3 seconds flat while I'm staring at him in shock, fully clothed. Left immediately after, and he proceeded to call me regularly for a year and a half after.
I met up with a girl I'd met on OkCupid. We had planned to go to this little coffee shop. I get there about 15 minutes early and find that the place is closed inexplicably. I then return to my car to find out I had locked my keys and phone in my car. So I had no choice but to just sit and wait for her to show up so I could explain to her that the place is closed and ask her to help me get my keys out of my car.
I dated a guy in high school that accidentally locked his keys in his car while picking me up for a date, on Valentine's Day. We still had fun though, after we got his keys out, and I still laugh about it. Went on a date with a guy I'd met through a mutual friend. Things seemed pretty normal until we were sitting and waiting for the movie to start. He got his phone out and started showing me pictures of 2 of his ex-girlfriends. Both women were completely naked. I had a casual first date with a guy at my apartment. We watched a movie that he had seen before and drank a bottle of wine and chatted. Toward the end of the movie there's a little blood suicide attempt, and the guy walked into my kitchen, pretended to get a glass of water, and dropped to the ground and started seizing. It was terrifying. I ran over and kept saying his name, and after a few seconds I was about to call 911, when he woke up, realized what happened and just said, "Damn it." Apparently the sight of blood really gets to him, and this was not the first time this had happened. TLDR. Date started with wine and talking, ended with him seizing on my kitchen floor.
Seizures are extremely scary for those witnessing them. My wife has epilepsy and she only had it once, but it scared the bejesus out of me. Hope everyone is well.
I went out with a guy that I had met on Tinder. The entire time, we argued. Either he didn't agree with me, or I didn't agree with him, on anything. Normally, I don't argue with someone just because I don't agree with them, but this guy was so arrogant. After leaving the bar, he somehow thought it would be a good idea to ask me to come up to his place. Saying no was the last time I spoke to him. RIP Tinder app. A cute-ish guy approached me at a foreign film screening at my university in Arizona and asked me out in French, which was the language of the film. I spoke college-level French, so I accepted the offer of a date. I mean, he was kind of cute. When he picked me up that Friday night, he greeted me with "Guten Tag, okay, cute," a reference to the foreign film screening, right? No. From that moment on he spoke nothing but clumsy German all night long. He took me to Blockbuster, I'm old, and we rented a German film. He spoke German to the cashier. He spoke German through dinner. He spoke German while watching the film. He tried to get to first base in German. And yes, this whole time I was telling him repeatedly that I don't speak German, I can't understand him, etc. He just responded in German. But the weirdest moment was when his roommate came home as I was awkwardly leaving. My date was trying to convince me to stay, in German, and my date interrupted our conversation to say in a perfectly normal Arizona accent, "Hey man, what's up?" And then turned back to me and continued to speak German. Okay. Oh man, I was talking to a guy online and we finally agreed to meet for a date. I get there and there is a woman sitting with him. It turns out that it was his wife and they were looking for a third. He never mentioned that during our chats and then called me a cunt for saying that I didn't want get involved. It probably wasn't the worst any had, but it just didn't make sense. First date with this guy, he says we should meet at a nearby coffee shop. I arrive and introduce myself, and hop into line to get coffee. He looks upset, so I ask him what's up. He says he hates coffee. Okay, we can get something else on the menu. But he also didn't bring any cash, because his last few dates made him pay. And he'd rather just do something that didn't require money. Then why did we meet at a shop? Anyhow, I start brainstorming stuff we can do that require no cash. He's shooting down all the options I gave, local zoo, art gallery, etc., because they involve driving more than 4 blocks away. So there's a lake nearby, let's just do a lap around that. We walk, and the guy is giving me nothing. Every question is met with a short, closed answer. Where did you go to college and what did you study? Wisconsin. Biochemistry. Oh, tell me about that. Biochemistry sounds really cool, and I love the campus at UW. It was okay. Cool story, bro. Anyways, so we make it back to where we started and I'm like, okay man, you seem really not into me, so how about we part ways, but in nicer terms? The guy flips. You said you were free between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. That means we still have an hour. You said you were free, so we are hanging out until 3. Alright dude. If you want completely one-sided conversation for an additional hour, sounds great.
Not shockingly bad, just a little weird. She showed up with her overprotective older sister. Most of the conversation was with her older sister. When I asked questions, in 80 of cases her sister was the one answering them. The girl was cute, so after the awkward experience we agreed to have another date. Turns out she was so sheltered and shy, she was almost incapable of having conversation on her own. Yeah, we grew to be good friends, but other than that, in a more romantic way, she was a very closed person.
Finally get to share this story. A couple of years ago I dabbled a bit with Tinder. Met one guy who was super cute, traveled a lot, and seemed interesting. I suppose, interesting, was one word I could use to describe him. We start the date by getting lunch and a few beers at my favorite spot in town. We were chatting away and the topic of daydreaming came up. I asked him what he daydreamed about. His eyes then get a bit dark and his voice gets low as he says, "When I daydream, I imagine the light leaving my enemy's eyes." By this point I was a few beers in and didn't know what to say. I respond with, "Oh, so how do you do it?" He looks away, ponders for a second and says, "Harpoon." The rest of the date was spent with him talking to me about his extensive anger issues and how he still lives with and bangs his ex. Hell, he had just banged her before he came to meet up with me. That was when I decided to stop using Tinder. Went on a date with a really aggressive guy. Had to call my Ukrainian ex-Navy, 6 feet 4 inches acquaintance to come save me. Dude threatened to call the cops on me because I left the date early, in his mind. Fuck you, Noah.
Can you imagine the call though? "I need SWAT, I need SEAL Team 6A." Girl tried to leave without my permission. Realizing that I was the guy who'd gained too much weight since his profile pic was taken. At least her look of disappointment motivated me to lose 40 pounds. Met a girl on Tinder, arranged to go to lunch, arrived at restaurant. So far, things are going well. She is late. I messaged her, "Hey, you still coming to lunch?" No response. I decide to wait 15 more minutes, 30 minutes total. Just sitting at a table in my university's main dining spot. I leave. That sucked, but it happens. She messages me a day later, "Oh, sorry, I didn't feel like going." I guess it's technically not a date, but damn, that sucked. Subscribe to the channel, like, and watch other videos.